Welcome to another episode of the Emetophobia-Free Podcast. Today we are joined by Caitriona Mallon, who's over in Northern Ireland, or Ireland?
That's right, County Derry, yep.
County Derry, Northern Ireland. And she's here today to give us a very, very important podcast and very important information, because Caitriona went through with her daughter the Emetophobia-Free Programme with her daughter for her daughter's emetophobia. And she's got 5 top tips for any parents out there who are supporting their young person through the programme. So we're really excited to have you here with us, Caitriona. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I'm delighted to be here. And I've enjoyed listening to the podcast through our journey. So I feel very privileged to be here today chatting to you.
Lovely. Okay. So do you want to start at the beginning, Caitriona? Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your daughter, what brought you to the programme, and how you started working your way through it?
Yep, of course. So our daughter started showing signs of emetophobia from about the age of 8 in school, in primary school. So we noticed at the beginning that she was continuously complaining of having a sore tummy, so a sore stomach. And obviously we got everything checked out with the doctor, and nothing was coming up. We noticed other little things as well. She was just starting to become a wee bit more anxious. And we decided then to get some help. So she was still able to go to school and she was still generally quite happy, but we just didn't really understand what was going on. So we wanted to go and seek some professional help. So we went then to a psychologist, a local psychologist, a brilliant girl, and we chatted. We had some sessions with her, and we didn't even know what it was called at that stage. So we then found out that Cara was suffering from emetophobia. So the sessions were helpful because I suppose we gained understanding about what it was she was suffering from. So it never totally went away, but I guess it definitely did help. It helped to reassure our daughter and us as well of what was going on. And in time, it seemed to fade away. We thought she's actually got rid of, she's outgrown it, was what we thought. And we never really gave it any more thought until she was sitting her exams. There were the 4th year exams. So that's like GCSEs. So the start of the GCSE process.
Okay.
And she is a very hard worker. She's a high achiever and likes to do her very best. So she started then to build some anxiety around sitting the exams and the fear of being sick in the exam hall.
Yes.
So this was really when it became problematic again. We contacted the school, who were fantastic, and she didn't have to leave the hall or anything like that. All she needed was to be beside a door, and beside a bin if need be. And she was able to sit her exams, and we were so proud of her. She didn't make a big deal out of it, but we just knew that still, obviously, that underlying fear and phobia was there.
Yeah.
She sat her exams, and thankfully, then everything seemed great. And we thought, okay, she's got through this again, and hopefully she'll not be troubled in the near future with it. But it reared its head again then last year. And I just think probably exam time, once again, it was sitting her AS levels. It was the preparation for that. She's a very busy girl. She is involved in a lot of sport as well.
Yeah.
And so between school and sport, which she loves, it was just probably just maybe becoming a little bit too much for her. Yeah. And the emetophobia got pretty bad.
Okay.
She tried her best to get on with things, and but it was very difficult. Yes. So the school were fantastic and very supportive, and we're very, very lucky to have such a brilliant school because the pastoral care is amazing. So she did go into school most days, but some days she wasn't able to go in for the fear of being sick or seeing somebody being sick. So that is really where we were at. We thought, we tried as well. We had tried CBT therapy, hypnotherapy, which are great therapies for other things perhaps, but unfortunately it wasn't really helping much with Cara.
Yeah.
So very luckily we heard about the Thrive programme through a family friend, and we had never heard of it before.
Right.
So we did a little bit of research into it, and we thought, this sounds the business.
Yes.
And so we were very excited about starting on that journey. And we signed up then with our coach Philippa, and Cara embarked upon the Emetophobia-Free Programme.
Yep.
And my husband and I then, in order to support her and understand it better, we started going through the Adult Thrive programme.
Fabulous. Lovely.
Yeah.
So how old was Cara at the time when she started going through the Emetophobia-Free programme?
16.
So she was 16.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of background for anybody who is watching. The guidance advice for young people with emetophobia is if they are 12 and under, they must be accompanied by an adult, whether that is doing it at home on your own. So you'll notice that on the website, you can only buy the bundle, the child and adult bundle, if they're under 12. Now, teenagers, there is a separate manual. So there's a separate adult manual and a separate teenagers manual. However, it's still strongly advised that the parents of any person under 18 is involved in the process as well. It is there to support, which is exactly what yourself and your husband did.
That's correct.
Which is absolutely brilliant. So before we get on to your 5 top tips for any parents going through this this journey and this process, do you want to just explain a little bit about your experience? Because I guess that's very different to any other kind of therapy out there. When you go with your child who said, okay, so my child's suffering with this phobia, they'll say, okay, we'll work with the child and we'll do some CBT with the child, we'll do some exposure with the child, we'll do EMD with the child, EMDR, with the child. It's very rarely, we'll do it as a family. It's very rarely that the parents are involved. What was your first reaction to that? And what was your experience of being involved in the process?
Well, from the outset, we loved the sound of the Thrive programme ourselves as well. Yes. So we knew that it would be beneficial for our entire family, not just for Cara. So the more that we found out about it, the more interested we were in learning more.
Great.
So we just knew that in order for us to support Cara, we needed to understand the programme and how it works.
Yes.
So we wanted to go on that journey alongside Cara. And then we knew that would be really good for us as well.
Brilliant.
For our own mental health. So,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. And, sometimes there can be a little bit of resistance there from parents who are thinking, well, the problem isn't with me. I haven't got the problem. It's with my child. We're not saying that there's a problem. That's absolutely not the point or the case at all. But what we are saying is this program allows you to understand your mind and your child's mind and what's going on for them. So it's very much an education program. It's a training program. So what you are gaining by going through it is knowledge and understanding of your own mind and how it works. Therefore, you're able to then support your child through whatever it is that they're going through emetophobia in this case, because you understand what to say, you understand how they're thinking, what thinking styles they've got, what limiting beliefs they've got, and how to help them through that. So, a session a week, that if you're going through it with a coach like you guys did, the coach is there for an hour a week. But you as parents are there the whole time. So it's really important that you create a team around that child, a team of support around the child, so that they can feel supported at each stage, no matter if, you don't want to have the session on a Wednesday and then by the Friday they're struggling and you're there as parents going, well, I wasn't in the session, I don't know what to do. By doing it yourself, you know exactly what to do. You're there to aid and support in between sessions, in between times, and to keep them on track, which is vitally important. One more thing I want to say on that is that I don't know about yourself and whether this was your experience, but when I'm working with parents and families, I always ask them to, the parents, even though we're there, the focus is the child to get them over the emetophobia, I ask them to choose a goal for themselves. So I would always advise them, even if they don't share it with me as the coach, even if they don't articulate it to anybody else, they just have a goal in mind for themselves to work through the program in order to achieve. So it could be something like, I want to reduce the amount of stress I create at work, or I want to improve my relationships. There's a relationship in my life that's not where I want it to be, or I can't sleep very well, I've got a bit of insomnia, whatever else it might be. If they have a goal in mind, they are then more likely to put in the effort to work through that and then really understand the journey that their child is on, and therefore they can support them. Was that your experience?
Absolutely, Michelle.
Yes.
So when working with Philippa, our coach, we did the same. So we went through the same process as Cara, only using the Thrive program as opposed to the Emetophobia-Free one. And we set goals and we did everything that Cara was doing. So then we were completely on the same page as her. We understood, and we were doing it at the same time. So we started at the same time. So we knew that what we were doing was more or less the same things as what Cara would have been doing at that time. And it was very useful because we were then able to talk about it as well.
Yes.
In a nice casual way, and just sharing what we had learned. And we just found it really, really beneficial. And we would have talked about it as well with our other children, which obviously it was filtering down into them too, which so they were getting the good out of it in that small way as well from, just what we were hearing us talk and trying to use the correct language and all those things that Thrive teaches you to do.
Which is brilliant. And I think secondary to that is it depends on the child, but when you have emetophobia, whatever age you have emetophobia, it can be a very lonely place to be because nobody else fully understands what you're going through and the thoughts that you're having about it and just how scared you are on a daily basis. And if your parents are there or somebody else is there going through the same program, it takes that pressure off and the focus off you entirely. So I don't know, again, if this was your experience because I haven't heard much about your experience, but was it the case that she was able then to support you and to help you and your husband in, okay, well, that's not very thriving language, Mum, you should be saying this, or this could be better. So she was able to see it as a whole family thing, and therefore the pressure isn't fully on her and the focus isn't fully on her, and she's able to use her skills and teach you guys, because research shows that if you are able to teach somebody a concept, your understanding of that deepens. If you have the ability to share your understanding and to teach it to somebody else and to share that knowledge, that deepens the child's understanding. So it's actually a really powerful way of doing things for that reason as well.
Yeah, totally agree, Michelle. And that's the thing, like she on different occasions, she would have said things to both my husband and I and all of us, that she had learned in the Thrive program. And it was just brilliant to see because week by week, her knowledge about herself was growing. And we were on the same journey and we were helping each other. And just talking about it and just having that support network within the house was massive for both us and for Cara. We were helping each other because it was brand new to us. We had never heard of it even, before until recently before we started the program. We hadn't even heard that the program existed. So we were going on that journey together and supported each other through it. So absolutely, 100%. We learned so much from Cara.
Fabulous. Now, just a point before we dive into the top 5 tips, because that's the main aim of this podcast, which is really exciting. Was it smooth sailing? Was it smooth sailing from start to finish? What was your experience, if you will, of understanding the program, which we're giving a sneaky peek into, number 1 here, aren't we? Number 1 top tip. But what was your experience of understanding the program and then applying it and supporting Cara through it? Was it plain sailing? Because the reason I asked that is because there'll be parents listening to this who are already supporting their children through this, and they're thinking, we're struggling, we're blipping, there's hurdles and we're not getting as fast and as far as we want to, as quick as we want to. What was your experience of that?
Absolutely. Do not beat yourself up because it does take time. It isn't plain sailing. It's a bit of a roller coaster, in fact.
Yes.
Simply because you are retraining your brain to think in a different way.
Yeah.
So, for example, as I mentioned at the beginning, particularly for Cara, she had been thinking this way since she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 8 full years of thinking that way and having her safety-seeking behaviours in place to protect her.
Yes.
That was difficult for her to let go of. And it took time and practice and indeed hard work on her behalf to retrain her brain to think differently.
Absolutely.
And I know that's the same with anybody, I can imagine, going through the Thrive program, because you really do have to retrain your thinking. But when you do, it's just amazing how you feel and the change that it makes in your life. So it is worth it. And we did find that, she would have done really well, and even ourselves as well. And then you would have reached a point and you would have maybe had a wee dip.
Yep.
But we're human. And we kept reminding ourselves of that. We're not robots. Of course you're going to have a day that you're not feeling as well.
Yes.
But that's okay. And you acknowledge that, and you just go with it. And the next day you keep going. You just have to keep going with the program. You have to have faith in it, because it absolutely does work. And that's why, Michelle, listening to your podcasts were a lifeline for us on so many occasions, because we were like, okay, let's if we listen to this one, and you could see people, oh my God, she was the same.
Yes.
Look, she had days where she found this was very tough, but look at where they're at now. Absolutely. And I just think having that to listen to, and the testimonials as well, keeps you going, if you're having a bad day, because there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it does take time. It's not going to happen overnight. So for anybody who is out there going through this and finding it difficult, that is normal. It's anything worthwhile doesn't come easily in life.
Absolutely. And it's, you're retraining your brain, which is a great way to describe it, but you're also forming new habits. So you've been in a habit of thinking in a certain way for, in Cara's case, 8 years. If anything in a habit and trying to break a habit takes time and commitment and dedication. And it's clunky to begin with. I say to most of my clients who I work with, and right at the beginning, I say it's almost like it's not super difficult, but it's awkward. It feels clunky. It's as if you are asked to eat your dinner with your knife in your fork hand and your fork in your knife hand. You've really got to concentrate on that, because you've always eaten it in a certain way. And then someone suddenly swapped you to ask you, going, oh, this feels peculiar. And you've really got to concentrate on it. But the more you do that, the more you practice. If every time you sat down at the dinner table, you had them in the opposite hands, you'd soon eat in that way. But it still takes time. It takes effort. It takes that mental concentration for that short period of time, until you just fall into that habit and you create that new habit. And it's the same thing.
It's for sport. Sorry, Michelle. I often think as well of footballers and hurlers and all different types of sports. You have to put the work in. You have to practice in order to become good at it. Absolutely. It's the exact same with this, But once you, I just love the metaphor that Rob uses about riding the bike. And once you learn how to ride a bike, you have that for life. You never forget how to ride the bike. And to me, that's what Thrive is like, Of course, you're going to fall off your bike when you're learning.
You are, yes.
And, you're going to have some bumps and scrapes along the way. But
Wobbles.
In the end, you're going to be able to ride that bike successfully, and you'll be able to ride that bike for the rest of your life. So that's how I sort of think of Thrive and the journey that we went on. You get there in the end, and the results are amazing and worthwhile.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Right, let's get into these 5 top tips then. So, top tip number 1. So these are, for anybody listening, these are Caitriona's 5 top tips, because Caitriona has been in the position of a parent supporting a child through emetophobia. So her experience, she's come up with these 5 top tips. Now, number 1, Caitriona, is understand the Thrive program and how it works. Correct?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain why is that your number 1? Why is that your top tip, number 1?
That was our number 1, because we wanted to be able to support Cara fully
Yes.
through the program and understand how it works.
Yes.
So I just think that's vital, because you need to be using the correct language, for example, with your child.
Yes.
You need to understand what they're doing in order to support them on every step of the journey. And because we were going through the Thrive program at the same time as Cara, we were able to do that regularly. And we knew we were doing it correctly then. We weren't asking ourselves, oh, have I said the right thing? Or should I be doing that? Because we knew, we understood it fully. We were on the same journey as her.
Nice.
So that was definitely our number one. And we learned so much as well about ourselves. And we were able to support each other in understanding the program fully as we went along on the journey with Cara.
Brilliant. Lovely. Yeah. Okay. So number 2 is reassure your child that they aren't alone and that they have your full support. You want to expand on that one?
Yeah. So sometimes it can feel very isolating for a child, particularly with emetophobia, because it is a very isolating phobia. Whenever, like when Cara, was suffering badly from it, socializing was a problem for her.
Yes.
And she's a very social person. She's loads of friends and, enjoys all that, plays sport. But we had to just reassure a lot that, it was going to get better, that she would be able to do all these things again.
Yes.
And thankfully she was able to do all her fun activities and just go back to normality again.
Lovely.
Because of the Thrive program.
Yes.
So it's just showing support, giving them support, reassuring them you're not the only person in the world that has this. It's actually quite common. We just, a lot of people don't talk about it.
Correct.
A lot of people have it and they don't even realize they have it. They don't know what it's called.
Yep.
And that was our case at the very beginning.
Yes.
So I've heard of so many more people, even like locally to us.
Yes.
I've heard just through different people, oh, such and such has it. And they just feel like they're not on their own then,
Yes.
So I think that's really, really important to reassure that they're not on their own.
Absolutely. They're not on their own. And, the end of that was they have your full support. So I think that's important as well, because it's not an easy task to overcome emetophobia. It's something that takes effort, takes dedication, takes commitment, takes thinking about it in a certain way. So to know that you have your parents' full support and that they will be there to support you every step of the way is vital, because you want those open lines of communication. You want them to go, I'm really struggling today. How can I see this in a different perspective? Yeah. What's a non-emetophobic perspective on this, Mum? I don't know. And so, to have that support and it be unwavering is beautiful and very, very helpful to the child going through it.
Yeah, and doing fun things together, there were there are a lot of positives coming out of it, even during the tough times. But like we would have sat down and chilled out and watched a show together, and for me that was very supportive, and it was brilliant for us as well. Yes. Just to spend that time. So you do have to take time, and you have to show support, and do things when it is getting tough. Do things with your child that make them feel that wee bit safer and that wee bit happier. Yes. Whatever that may be. It could be going for a walk with them. It could be watching something on the TV.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be. Having a wee chat.
Yes.
Doing some breathing, deep breathing. We did that a lot.
Yes.
To calm everything down.
Yeah.
We found that very useful.
Lovely. Love that. Okay. So number 3, easier said than done. Be patient and understanding. Okay. Yeah. So I guess easier to be understanding when you have the understanding and the knowledge of what they're going through. But, as any parent out there with a child who's got emetophobia, it's not an easy task to support them through it. And it does take an awful lot of patience. So do you want to expand on being patient and understanding and why that's so very important when going through the program?
Yeah. So emetophobes are perfectionists as well. Most emetophobes are female.
Yep.
And they like things done right. They like things done, completed. So we were continuously reassuring Cara as well that it's not going to happen in a short space of time, as in a week after the first session.
Yes.
You have to be patient. You have to. It's going to take time. Anything worthwhile takes time. So if your child starts to get annoyed or frustrated that, oh, but this isn't going to work for me, I know I'm going to be the one that it's not going to work for. And we did have that at a stage.
Yes.
So it's just being patient, reassuring them that, no, you know, there's so many people that have been in the same boat as you and have come out the other side.
Yes.
And you can do this.
Yes.
But you don't have to rush it. We're going to take our time. We're going to work through it at our own pace.
Lovely.
And taking the time is so important because it does take time. But it's time well spent. And it's probably the most important time you will ever spend in your life because you are helping your child to get over this debilitating phobia.
Brilliant.
So they can live their best life and they can thrive in life. So it is so important to make sure you set aside that time to work with your child, to support them, and if possible, go through the program yourself.
Yes.
If that's not possible, having the manual and reading through the manual and understanding that. But so being patient is so, so important.
Yes, brilliant. I just want to add a little bit to that, even though these are your top tips, so forgive me. When your child says, this isn't going to work for me, I'm the person it's not going to work for, this is too difficult, it's taking too long, etc., etc. It's important that you understand at that moment that they've lost perspective and that you don't join them in that perspective. So the way I have worked, because I know, my background is in education, I worked in education for a very long time. When a child, any child, going through emetophobia or not, when their emotions go up, when they start to get frustrated, angry, when their stressometer, if you will, is going up, it's your job as the parent to go, okay, they're going up, I'm coming down. Before you do anything, before you interact with them, before you try and support them, before you try and reassure them, don't dive straight in, because what tends to happen then is that you start to go up as well, you start getting frustrated and you start getting annoyed. When you see them having a wobble, having a blip, get frustrated, losing perspective, the first thing, the most important thing for you to do is take that step back and go, okay, they're going up, I'm going to come down. I'm going to take some time to remind myself they've lost perspective. This is just a wobble. This is just thoughts that they're having. This is okay. I can keep myself calm here, because if I keep myself calm, I'm in a much better space and place to support them. And you stay firm, just as you articulated so beautifully, you stand firm in your belief that you're getting through this. No matter if you've lost perspective right now, no matter if you're having a wobble, if we stay on this path, it is inevitable you will overcome this. And I'm here to support you. So what can we do? Let's go for a walk. Let's go for whatever else. So it's just making sure that when they're up and they're going up, you don't join them. You keep yourself down.
Yeah, totally agree, Michelle. And the metaphor of blowing air into the balloons coming to mind here.
Yes.
And we use that a lot whenever Cara was starting to feel anxious or was having a bad day.
Right.
We would also have put little posters, just like small little affirmations around, the house. Just things, thrivey language. We find that really useful for the entire family. So even just on the fridge, in the kitchen, the bedroom, wherever. And then just continuously reassuring, as you say, modeling good behavior.
Yes.
So staying calm.
Yes.
Never panicking. It's going to be okay.
Yep.
You can do this.
Yep.
And like you said, going for a nice walk to calm down any thoughts that are racing. Deep breathing.
Yes.
Doing something, watching a TV show that makes them feel happy. All those sort of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. So that kind of leads us in very nicely to number 4, top tip number 4, which is use the correct language. Now, there might be a few spoilers in here for those people who haven't gone for the program yet and are thinking, what's this program all about? So it might be worth just having a chat about the language, what that means. What does the correct language mean, and why was that so important?
Yeah, well, this was massive for us, Michelle, because we didn't realise that we had been colluding with Cara for a long time.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to us. We
Yes.
thought we were saying the right things, but we weren't.
Yes. Okay.
We just
so what
didn't
things
understand.
were you saying?
We didn't know.
So what was colluding? Let's be specific.
Yeah. So, for example, if we were going out for dinner,
Yeah.
Cara might have said, "But no, Mummy, I feel sick. What if I'm sick?"
Yeah.
And I would have said, "But you're not going to be sick.
Okay.
You're fine."
Yes.
I thought that was the right thing to say.
Yep.
Of course, I know now it is absolutely not the right thing to say.
Okay.
Because I was colluding with her then.
Okay.
There's no way that anybody can guarantee that somebody isn't going to be sick.
Right.
I can't guarantee that.
No.
But I was telling her that to try and calm her down.
Yes. Yes.
So, I suppose then we learned from going through Thrive that what we should have been saying to Cara was, but if you are sick, you'll be okay and you'll cope.
Right.
So that word cope, being able to cope was massive.
Yes.
And then she was starting to use that language as well.
Right.
She would start then, as we went further through the programme, she would start to say, I'm not feeling well. I feel a wee bit sick, but I know I'll cope. If I'm sick, I know I'll cope. And that was a massive turning point for us.
Awesome. Yes. Yes.
So she was in control. She was starting to become in control.
Right.
Of how she was feeling and how she was thinking and how she was reacting.
Brilliant. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a really lovely example and very relatable to any parents out there who are thinking, I do that. I tell them they're not going to be sick, because it seems like the most natural thing to do, doesn't it, to reassure them, because you're thinking, well, I know it's anxiety. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.9% sure they're not going to be, so I'll just tell them they're not going to be. So it's important to understand why that's unhelpful, in that you can't guarantee it. And actually, the subliminal message, if you will, there is, it is a terrifying thing, so you won't be. But what you're trying to do here in getting over emetophobia is to start to see being sick as something that's not terrifying, that's not horrendous. That's something that happens every once in a while. And when it happens, it's uncomfortable, it's unpleasant, but you'll get through it. So taking the scariness out of it, because actually saying, no, you're not going to be, he's going, okay, well, you're fine as long as you're not. That's what you're saying. It's all fine as long as you're not sick. Yeah. But they need to then understand that even if they are, they'd be okay. So that language is incredibly important. A little inside for the programme as well, it's incredibly important, the language you use around emotions. So when the children are going through, they tend to, adults as well, they tend to say things like, it's making me feel. So going out for tea is making me feel anxious. Or this food is making me feel anxious. Or going to school's making me feel anxious. So it's very, very passive. It's something that's happening to them. This thing outside of them, whatever it is making them feel anxious. Now, as part of the programme, and once you understand the programme and understand how your mind works, and you've got all that education, which is psychology, right? So you get a little bit of psychology in there, but in a very understandable and relatable way. You understand that nothing outside of us makes us anxious. It's not school making them anxious. It's how they are viewing school. It's the thoughts they're having about school. So changing that language to something along the lines of, I'm creating anxiety about school. I'm making myself anxious because of what I'm thinking about school, is massively powerful, because then all of a sudden, if it's you doing it, if it's a doing thing on your behalf, you can do something about it. If it's school, you're stuck, because you can't change school, and you can't change that it's the law, you've got to go to school, but you can change something that you're actively doing once you understand what you're doing, which is incredibly powerful. Is that something that you found as well?
Absolutely. So it's not happening to you, you're creating it, and therefore you can uncreate it.
Yes.
You can undo that and change it. So that's very empowering. And that was very empowering for us as well.
Yeah.
Once we realised that, this anxiety, this phobia it's not like per me. Why is this happening to me? You're unknowingly creating that yourself. And when you realise then, as you rightly said, Michelle, that you are creating that yourself through your thoughts and your beliefs, your unhelpful thinking styles and your belief system, then you realise that you have the power to change that. And that is extremely empowering and builds your self-esteem and your self-confidence and everything else that goes with it. When you realise that, when you learn that. So as you said, that language is crucial. It's so important. Brilliant. So for us as parents, when we knew how to talk properly about that and use the correct language, we could see how it was helping Cara then on her journey, because she obviously was learning that language as well. We were able to embed that then into everything. Brilliant. And I thought it was one of the most important parts of it, to be honest.
Brilliant. Yeah. Lovely. And I like that you said you embedded it into everything, because sometimes, again, because the focus is on emetophobia and on the child, you start to use all of that active language with them and internal language with them. But if you're not then moving that across to yourself, let's say, so you're driving in the car and somebody cuts you up and they go, oh, they've just really annoyed me, or whatever language you might want to use, that someone's just cut you off, you're not giving them the right message. It needs to be all pervasive. It needs to be across the board. You need to be owning your own emotions, because what you're asking them really at a very young age is to own their emotions, good and bad. So if I'm creating an emotion, I'm doing it. This is me. And they're owning it. So you as parents have to be on that journey with them and start owning your own emotions as well, using that language yourself. Because modelling for children is incredibly important. They learn so much from modelling. So if you're modelling the correct language, it's going to accelerate that progress.
Absolutely. And that's why I find it to be one of the key parts of it. Brilliant. Everything, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You're putting all the pieces together, and when they all go together at the end, everything works. Yes. But language is a massive piece of that jigsaw puzzle. Absolutely. Using the correct language and not colluding, because we didn't realize we were colluding. No. And especially for emetophobes, that's massive.
It is. Yes, it is. Lovely. Fabulous. Okay, so last but not least, number 5 is praise your child and acknowledge their effort and progress. Remind them that they have done this themselves. So do you want to share a little bit about that one?
Yeah, I think that's so important and a brilliant way to round it all off, because you have to acknowledge the work that they have put in. It hasn't been, as I said before, it's a roller coaster journey. Yep. And it will have its ups and its downs, because you are changing so many things. And most people that are emetophobes have had emetophobia for a long time. Absolutely. So they're having to retrain everything. They're having to dig really, really deep and put in a lot of work. So you have to acknowledge that. Yes. It doesn't come easily, but it is worthwhile, and it can be very fun along the way as well. I don't want it to sound like it's a real hard slog. It's not. If you put in the work, and Cara did put in the work, and so we were continuously praising her, and of course reminding her as well to process the positives. Yes. And we would have done that a lot as a family. We would have sat down and talked about the positives and how you really do have to appreciate the things that you do, the positive things that you do, and process them. And the processing of them is so, so important. Yes. So that was a big part of it. And we would have shared our positives as well. So, writing them down, acknowledging. So even the small steps, like the first time that, Cara did something like go to a restaurant and was able to eat a meal. Yes. That was massive, Huge. And making her realise how massive that was. She was able to go, she was able to sit down in a crowded restaurant, enjoy dinner and eat it and not feel sick. Yeah. You have to really, really acknowledge that, because that is massive for somebody who has suffered from emetophobia. Absolutely. And praising the effort. So that was coming to the end of the programme, but like the whole way through, every little step that they have taken and every bit of effort that they have put in, you must praise it. You must acknowledge it. Like blow it up, make a really big deal of it, because they, a lot of the time, aren't processing those positives themselves.
No, they're not.
No. And they don't even realise. They're like, that wasn't a big deal. Cara would have said that, but that wasn't a big deal. And I would remind her that was actually a really big deal, because do you remember 3 months ago or whatever, you wouldn't have been able to do that. Yes. So that is so, so important.
Yes. Love that. And I think you're completely right. And it's lovely to hear the pride in your voice, because you can hear it. You can hear it from even in hindsight. You can go the pride, so proud of her. Which is lovely. But you are completely right. Emetophobes generally downplay their achievements. because they are perfectionists, right? So they have a perfectionist
absolutely.
thinking style. They downplay it. So, well, everybody else can do that, so I should be able to do that. So it's not worth praising you for. And it's your job as a parent to go, no, actually, it's not a competition with anybody else. We're not comparing ourselves to anybody else here. For you, that was tricky. You found that difficult. Therefore, it's worth a massive praise. Massive praise. And you use the word process there, which is really, really instrumental. In that, if I've had a positive, so, she sat down and had a meal in a restaurant, praise to the hilt, have a little kitchen disco if you want to, whatever else you need to do, praise. And then ask her, what does that say about you? So processing it is very much going, okay, well, I've done that. So this is Cara going, I've done that. I can do difficult things. I can do things I once told myself I couldn't do. I'm able to go out. I'm able to eat. I can enjoy food. I can enjoy meals. I can be anxiety-free in a restaurant. And it's really processing the fact that she's done that. And all of the effort that she's put in, she's linking it to the outcome that she's got. And that's what processing means. It's really putting that effort to the outcome. And going, do you know what? I've worked really hard here. This is my outcome. And this is what I can say about me. So it's really boosting their self-esteem, boosting that self-belief that they are the ones in the driver's seat. They're the ones curing themselves of emetophobia, because even though you and your husband and the rest of the family were alongside her cheering her on, you're her biggest cheerleaders, which is absolutely bob on and what it should be. She did it. She's the one that overcame it herself. She's the one that cured herself of emetophobia.
It was only her that could do it.
Right, which is so powerful once you realise that, because she, if you really process that, if she can get over emetophobia, which is so debilitating, there's so much you can't do, and it affects your life in so many ways. You overcome that, you can do anything. It's your person. You can do anything if you process that powerfully. So that is a part of your job as a parent as well, to be able to really help her to process and to really praise her for all of that progress and really embed that understanding that she's powerful. She's the one in the driver's seat.
Yeah, absolutely. And we continue to do that with Cara, and I think that's important. Don't forget, that this has to be continued. You have to continue to praise all of your children, obviously, because everybody needs praise. It helps everybody in life, your self-esteem, your self-confidence.
And your partner. Never mind your children, your partner, not everybody, yourself.
Because it makes you feel better. And talking kindly to yourself was another thing, that can be very difficult for emetophobes. So reminding your child to talk kindly to themselves, because if you can't talk kindly to yourself, you're not going to be able to do that to anybody else. You're not going to be able to be happy, basically, if you can't be kind to yourself. So that was something that we worked on a lot as well. And like now, the things that she has achieved, she never stopped. She always trudged through, even when times were difficult. And we're so unbelievably proud of her, because we realise how difficult that was for her, especially when we went through the programme and we understood emetophobia even more. It really does highlight how strong she is. But now what she can achieve and what she has achieved is phenomenal. She was able to sit her exams. Despite going through all that, she still sat her exams and did really well. She's on the senior leadership team at school and has talked in front of, big crowds of people.
Lovely.
She just there recently over Halloween completed a lifeguard course, a very intensive lifeguard course. She used to be very afraid of going to the pool for the fear of being sick in the pool. That was absolutely massive for her. She works in a cafe. She has a part-time job serving food in a cafe.
Amazing.
She's playing her sport that she absolutely loves. And she's playing for 3 different teams. So she's, she is thriving. And there's the examples of, if your child is at a stage where they aren't able to hardly leave the house, believe me, there is hope. Things will improve. And there's an example of how our daughter's life has changed after going through the Thrive programme. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I am now a Thrive coach, because I have seen the power of it. And I just want other people to find out about it. I want to give hope to other people who have emetophobia. There is hope. You can overcome this phobia.
Yes.
And,
yes.
you know, thank goodness we found out about Thrive. It has been life-changing for us.
Awesome. Yeah. So yes, you are a coach now, which is very, very exciting, and you are open for bookings, which is brilliant. So particularly if you're a parent out there, Caitriona's been in your position. She's been through it firsthand. So contact her. She's there ready to help you through this thing, which is so, so exciting. So just before we finish, I just want to say amazing. Thank you so much. Those top tips were brilliant. Just before we finish, is there any final words of wisdom, if you will, or guidance you want to give to any parents that are where you were either before you embarked on the programme or midpoint? Anything that you want to say to them to help them on their journey?
Yeah. Just know that it will happen for you. Your child will overcome, or if it's somebody who is an emetophobe themselves, you will overcome this. It takes some effort, but it will happen. You can do it. You just have to put the work in. You have to put the work in. That is an important thing to state. You know, you just can't turn up for your coaching session for 1 hour per week and expect that, you know, to be all you have to do. You do have to put in the work yourself at home. And if you do work hard and you put the work in, I mean, the sky's the limit. You will 100% overcome emetophobia. And, you know, we can verify that because of our experience. And we were in a pretty bad place at a stage, and we didn't know where to turn or what to do. And through listening to your podcast, Michelle, which really was a lifeline for us. And that's why I feel so honoured to be on talking today from the other side of that, because I was listening to your podcast at a time when things were very tough. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I really hope that we're going to be like that person, that guest who's just on, and that, you know, that someday we're at that point. We are at that point now.
Which is amazing, and it is incredible.
It is amazing. And anything like that is going to help you, listening to Michelle's podcast, the Emetophobia-Free podcast, looking and watching the videos, the testimonials. Don't lose hope. You can do this. Lovely. You really can. And it is, I love the 3 E's, that it's easy to understand. It's evidence-based. And it's empowering. And empowering for me is the most important part of it. Because you're in the driving seat, you can do it.
Brilliant. Lovely. And for any parents that are, you know, wanting their child to get better, get in the journey with them. Get involved.
Absolutely.
Dive in, feet first. Be there alongside them. Be their biggest cheerleader. Be there every step of the way, and do the work yourself, because then you're really going to understand. You're going to be in the best position. And as you said, this is skills for life. This isn't just about getting over emetophobia, which is the first thing, right? It's the first goal. But you know, Cara's got a full life ahead of her with a family now who's then thriving themselves. She's got such a support network to be able to go and create this fantastic life for herself without those limits. You know, emetophobia comes with so many limits. You're limited all of the time in what you can do. Self-imposed limits, but what I can do, what I can't do, and restricting yourself. Those limits are now gone. And it's being able to use those skills day in, day out for the rest of your life to make sure that you're making the most out of it and squeezing the most out of life and enjoying it to its maximum, which is just such a beautiful gift to be able to give your child. So well done to you.
You just feel so free. You felt, you know, we feel free now. That burden is off our back, Michelle. And we have that, as you rightly said, we have that toolkit now for life. For whatever, because life is a roller coaster. There are ups and downs. You know, but if you have these skills embedded now, you'll be able to get through anything.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just so empowering.
Brilliant. So thank you so much, Caitriona. What a fabulous podcast. And hopefully we'll see you on here again at some stage.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for having me on. Really enjoyed chatting to you.
No problem.